Good afternoon. Regular session, Mayor and City Council meeting this Wednesday, March 6th, 6 o'clock, 2013, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for invocation. And the invocation today will be Mr. Crespo, Asal Crespo, Pastor. Por favor.
Primeramente le quiero dar gracias a Dios por el honor que me concede estar aquí con ustedes para hacer esta oración. También al señor Arturo Garino por hacerme esta invitación. A todos ustedes miembros del City Council por unirse conmigo juntamente con estas personas para hacer esta oración delante de nuestro Señor. Señor y Padre nuestro, te doy muchas gracias por esta tarde preciosa en la cual nos permite ser parte de algo grande, Señor. Ahora pedimos tu guianza, tu dirección, para que cada asunto que se va a tratar en este lugar, Señor, sea guiado, Señor, por tu Espíritu y ponga sabiduría en nosotros para hacerlo mejor para el engrandecimiento de nuestra ciudad. Padre, te pido por cada uno de los miembros de este concilio, por sus familias, que tú los guardes y los bendigas y concedas sus peticiones, sus oraciones. También te pido que tú pongas tu mano sobre ellos, fortalezca sus fuerzas, Señor, si están cansados o enfermos, tú aumente su fe. De igual manera te pido nuevamente que cada asunto que se va a tratar en esta tarde, Señor, sea de una manera especial bendecido por ti, para que esta ciudad sea engrandecida, para que nuestras autoridades, Señor, sean bendecidas, para que nuestros negocios sean prosperados, nuestras familias guardadas y nuestros hijos cuidados donde quiera que vayan. Señor, pon la paz de ti en nuestros corazones. Tu palabra dice, rogad por la paz de la ciudad, porque si la ciudad tiene paz, nosotros también tendremos paz. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Amén. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Item number 4, call to the public. We're going to start with Rosa Amelia Samaniego. Yes, please. And state your name again and your address for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. My name is Rosa Amelia Samaniego. My address is 552 North Grandview Avenue here in Nogales proper. The reason why I'm here today is because I am thoroughly concerned and frustrated with the condition of Walnut Street. I mean, wow. Last Thursday, I was driving through the street and I see that there's a huge trench being dug. So I stopped to ask, the workers, who are fabulous, by the way, what's going on? So they said, well, we have to dig up and we're going to start doing some work. When all of a sudden another worker says, stop everything, fill it back up, we're not doing the work. So I thought, well, that's poor planning. I went on my way. Tuesday of this week, which was what, yesterday I guess, I was driving through Walnut again, and I see another huge trench. And this time they're working. So I get out of my car, and I ask, what's going on? They're installing a sewer line. I said, well, wait a minute. In 2008, the sewer line was installed the length of Walnut Street. Why is it that now we are having to install between West and Sonoita? What happened? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just that the contractor didn't do his work. Maybe we didn't check. The thing is that the sewer line is in bad shape and we have to replace it. Forgive me, but I'm at the point where I'm in disbelief. It's discouraging. It's frustrating. It's disgusting to see the point of how cavalier we have become with the city's monies. And not to mention, come on, we started in June. In 2008, when you installed the sewer line, huge problems. It wasn't planned well. Then we start last June with the water line, huge problems. Lack of coordination, notification, one thing after the other. I mean, I came in with samples. We all had dirty water for days. Now it's the paving. Those people that live on Walnut have been living with those conditions for a very long time. Nowhere would anyone put up with that type of performance. And then the frustration is added because you come and you try to address issues with department heads or whatever, and the arrogance with which one is met. You know, I lived in Los Angeles for many years, and I worked with individuals that were extremely arrogant. Young Ivy League whippersnappers. But they could wear the arrogance because they performed, they delivered. That's not the case here. This is just unbelievably, what's going on? What's happening? What are you doing? Please, Mother of God. It's one project after the other, whether it's Morley, whether it's Walnut, Botero. I have a tenant that called me up one day and said, hey, listen, I got a note on my door. And they're going to do some work on Lune. No date. There's 52 lunes. Not lunes, lune. I said, you know, I don't know, maybe the work already took place. The notification was done only in Spanish. You know, there's one gentleman that lived there that is an American. You know, things like this, there's no thought, there's no planning. It's problem after problem after problem. And let me tell you, there are solutions to every problem, with the exception of death and taxes. I don't know. Listen, I've been living here for 10 years now. I'm very frustrated. And I keep wondering, what can we do? Quick story, please, if I may.
Go ahead.
My father was a fantastic guy, but he used to do one thing that irritated me like you have no idea. Every time there was a Mexican president elected, he'd say, oh my God, this is going to be the one. He's going to do something for the people. And isn't it something frustrating that we, in our old age, become our parents? So here I've been for 10 years, 5 administrations. In every administration that comes through, I'm like, oh, come on, this is going to be the one. And we're disappointed time and again. You need to address procedures. You need to evaluate the people that you have running your departments. Not every one of them, but a lot of them. Let me ask you something, please. What is the policy for the city to return calls?
I'll answer that, but just for information and call to the public, we cannot answer
all right,
questions, but I will answer.
Sorry, I'm a
From my office, the calls are returned immediately the same day.
Well,
But the policy of call to the public is that you have the opportunity to voice the information, but we cannot, as a council, we cannot answer.
Listen, yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, I could stay here for hours,
I will tell you this,
unfortunately.
that I will take action on this, and the city manager is sitting next to me right now. He will look into this right now, but I know there's issues on Walnut, I can say that. And those issues really don't have anything to do with the city, it's with the contractor that we're dealing with. And what we do as a city is we just try to make sure that everything is done according to what the contractor and the specifications, but that's as far as I can.
Okay, well then, with all due respect, forgive me, but I think then that what you need to do is you need to take responsibility for this, because ultimately you're the ones that are contracting. You need people that are going to identify the problems in the city. Then you need to prioritize. Then you need to have someone that's going to have appropriate specifications written up, proper contractual language and everything else, so that every time that you award or that you let a contract, people can just say, see
No,
ya,
I understand.
and nothing happens.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, thank you.
Next is Roxana Lopez.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council people, and of course all our community members. I'm sorry I'm in my workout outfit, but I didn't want to miss this meeting. I'm here as a friend of many of you, okay? And I'm also here as a representative of Camino del Sol neighborhood. We have two issues going on, and I've spoken to Public Works about one of them. First and most important, we're having noticeable increased crime on our street. We attribute it to not having our street lights on. It's dark. Last month, there was a drug bust of over 1,200 pounds of pot, 5 homes away from my mom's house, where I live as well. Last year, there was an apartment harboring over 15 illegals, male and female, that was just 2 homes away from my mom's house. Both instances, CPD arrived heavily armed, guns blaring. One of them was during the day and one at night. My mom's 76 years old. She was terrified. She was terrified. We've lived in that neighborhood for over 50-some years, okay? I really feel that both instances could have been eluded from if we just had our lights on. We need lights on Camino del Sol. We need them on Pajarito. We need them on Western. Darkness brings illegal activities. The police can drive around all night, but it's dark. People can get run over. It's dangerous. And we've dealt with this for over 2 years. The only time the lights are really on is at Christmas time when all the neighbors put their lights on. That's ridiculous, guys and ladies. It's ridiculous. I'm feeling like Miss Samaniego. I'm from here. I'm born and raised here. And I believe in what I'm told. I really think it's going to happen, and it's not happening. And I call Public Works. Hey, our lights are out. Besides that, the other part is the paving thing. Our street on Camino del Sol is not in bad shape. Okay, it's not like Potrero, all the way up to the VFW, Mr. Diaz. You gotta, when you go up there, you know you hit the bumps, and it's horrible. It was left in okay shape when, I guess, Age Construction finished in December. Nogales patched it, but it's fallen apart. I don't know what type of material they're using. That being said, with all the work that was happening with Age Construction, they were driving all of the fill dirt up Camino del Sol to dump it off of the hill above A.J. Mitchell. And these are big trucks, 13 to 15 trucks a day hauling material 40 miles an hour because we don't have a speed bump. Our street is going to be trashed. If all this paving is going to start, all the dirt's going to be dragged up our street and down the hill at A.J. Mitchell. And I was told this by Alma Nash at Public Works. She said they will call you back. I never heard back from the director, and I'm concerned. Those big, huge rocks fall out of the trucks, and they almost hit my mom's car. And my dad's gone, so I got to be here to fight for my mom and for the residents in our neighborhood. My question is, when can we expect the lights on? If I need to get all the residents to sign a petition, I will do it. And also, when can we have a real plan of how we're going to make our city a beautiful place to be again? I don't think we need to worry about rogue signs. I don't think we need to worry about vendor carts right now. I don't think we need to worry about small things, because right now, Nogales is screaming, pave our streets, take care of us now. As a collective group, the city's screaming, and I hear it every day. And I just want to say something as a collective group. There has been the notion that we're looking for pay raises for you folks, so that maybe we can do a better job at what we're doing. And I just want to quote just quickly, a movie, Marie Antoinette, when she told her starving country that they had no food, that they could eat cake. And you know what happened to her? Shortly thereafter, she lost her head. Okay? So please, don't lose your heads. And the residents sound like they're ready to riot. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I don't think I'll talk about that. Thank you. And it's been great.
Mr. Becker, you want to talk about the bathrooms
I could get
during the agenda item? It's okay? All right? Is there anybody else who called to the public? No? Item number 5, Mayor and Council's report on current events. Mr. Diaz, will you please?
I'm gonna sum up what I did in February. Went to the Government Affairs Committee meeting at the Chamber of Commerce. What was spoken there was they have $10 million, a lending program for small businesses in Arizona's rural committees, and that was a topic there. Also went to the Arizona Border Communities Roadmap meeting at the Fresh Produce Association, and that was they talked about strategic action plan for the for border communities and alignment, political alignment. Also, I spoke with Rosana Gabaldon and Andrea De Alessandro, our state representatives, talked with them, see what they could do to help us. And we also had the Primeria Alta Historical Society tour the BFW on our last Sunday of the month of February. We're applying for a historical site for the BFW, so a lot of people came down from Green Valley, Tucson. They liked it so much, some of them stayed over for drinks, so that's all I have for right now.
Vice Mayor?
I'd go ahead and sake of brevity, I asked it was Councilman, but
You got the same report as Mr. Diaz has, so. Thank you, Mr. Parra.
Yeah, I also attended that, the project mission for the Arizona-Mexico Commission. I also attended the Desert Shadow. I went to the Lava Reading Week. It was a very good experience with the kids. We're working with the homenaje to the Mujer Mexicana that it's going to be held on the 8th at the Nogales High School. You're all cordially invited. We're also working with St. Andrews for the yearly fashion show. It's also we're inviting everybody, and it's for the profit of St. Andrews. And we're also working towards the Fiestas de Mayo event that is going to be held on the 4th, Saturday, May the 4th. The flyers are coming, and you're all invited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman?
I attended a concert held by Santa Cruz County Attorney's Office and a fundraiser for the church to send their youth to camp.
Thank you very much. On February 4th, I spoke at Nogales High School in 2 different classes. I spoke about city government. The other one was about Vietnam and my experience in Vietnam. On February the 8th, I met with the Arizona legislators at the Fresh Produce Association. Same day, I attended the Historic Film Festival movie screening at the Oasis Cinema. Very important for our city, image building program. On February 12th, I had the Binational Coalition meeting with ambos Nogales, Presidente Municipal Guzman, myself, and the people at the port, the director. Also the same day, I went to Tucson National Salute to Veterans at the Veterans Hospital. On February 13th, the Jump Back to School planning meeting, first meeting of the year. February 14th, read to a class at Desert Shadows Middle School. And also attended the final meeting with the committee for the professional baseball team that we're having now in Nogales. February 19th, I met with Secretary Janet Napolitano, Commissioner David Aguilar, and Senator Carper to talk about border issues and security along the border. They came to the new port of entry, so we had a great meeting over there. February 20, I had the Charles Mingus project meeting. February 21st, I did my first Skype interview with Huffington Post interview on Operation Streamline. February 22nd, I did an interview with Asad Crespo Pastor that read the invocation and Radio Manantial interview. A group of visitors from France came to tour City Hall and interviewed me, question and answer. I went to the hospital OR grand opening, the Carondelet, and I did an interview with New York Times on immigration reform and border security. February 26th, did an interview with Arizona Republic on crime along the border. February 25th, I did an interview with Radio Geni on pro baseball and the new soccer field, which will be cutting the ribbon tomorrow, and you're all invited at 10 o'clock. That's right behind Fletcher Park. February 27th, I did my second Skype Huffington Post interview on border security. I did an interview, Fox News Channel from DC on sequester and the effects on border. And then a KOD interview on the professional baseball team. February 28th, an interview with Channel 4 on border security and the declining number of illegal immigrants. Item number 6, Mr. Gildy, Department Director's Report. Are you just going to go ahead and submit the
Mr. Mayor, members of
report
the
to us?
council, yeah, you should have received hard copies of the month of February's director's reports. It really is the council's pleasure as to how you'd like to proceed with this. However, what you'll see in the future, Mr. Members of Council, is that this director's report will accompany the email that you get for the council packet. So when that council packet goes out to you, so will this director's report. So you have all that kind of in a package deal, and you have the weekend to review it all the way up until the council meeting. If there's any questions you have, you can ask those questions then, or get with us before the meeting. We're happy to answer anything that you have in there. It really is the council's pleasure. Mr. Mayor, department heads are here, able to go through the report that they provided you, but that's exactly what they would do, is they would tell you basically what we've already provided you in writing. So it really is up to the council.
Mr. Dilly, I know that's probably a little off track, and Mr. Machado a little off track, but I just want to say that the directors are here. For those of you that spoke and called to the public, they will look at everything you spoke about and take action on this. Okay? Thank you. Is that all you were, Mr. Dilly?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Item number 7, events. Number 1, presentation of plaques for the light winners of the Christmas parade. We're gonna start with 3rd place. 3rd place was Lincoln Elementary School. It was not only the lights, but the cloth. Everything was really nice. So thank you very much. On behalf of my office and the members of the City Council, this is good.
Thank you.
Okay. Second place is Challenger Elementary School. Well, since they're not here, I'll be hanging this in my office. But they got second place, and for the also best of parade, Christmas then and now. And first place goes to Sacred Heart. Is this your second year in a a row? Any, second year in a row?
Fourth year.
Fourth year?
Public place.
4 years, we finally got praised.
Oh, no. Your first? I thought you guys had gotten the first already.
No, we had second place.
This year's was beautiful.
The 4th year, we had first.
I mean, this year's was beautiful. Thank you very much. You guys did a great job. And I want to thank you very much.
She represented Mary.
Okay.
And Octavia represented the angel.
Oh, that was great.
This is from our group, Movimiento Carisma.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Here's your first place.
Great.
Award. Thank you, guys.
They have a plaque. Turn plaque. Oh, I turned. Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. At 8, you have to leave at 8? I was going to say.
Mayor, we will excuse us, we have a conference as a congratulations. Thank you, okay? Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. See you, bye, Bruce. See you. Oh, really? That's cool.
I was just told by one of the representatives from Sacred Heart that they really do have a very safe city.
Of course.
Item number 8, discussion item. Number 1, discussions, restrooms at downtown City Park. Mr. Parada?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, thank you.
Thank you. First of all, the need of having the restrooms at the City Park in Nogales is very important. Since we depend on the sales tax and the business people depend on our sales to survive, and to survive ourselves, we have to get into a sales tax. I wonder if we can, by the future, if we could combine, let's say that we put 50-50 with the annual MOU, with then 50-50 on getting somebody on a 7-day period.
As an
If it's
attendant,
possible.
as an attendant to
Right.
maintain the bathrooms?
Right.
Well, that's something that we could surely look into. As it is right now, I think we supply all the materials, the light, the utilities, and the building itself, and I think the downtown merchants put the attendant. Everything else we pay. Is Mr. Bachelier here? Mr. Bachelier, will you please come to the podium? I was asked one thing prior to the meeting, because we're not very sure what the cost is from the city right now, as far as utilities, as far as the maintenance, as far as the supplies that are used in the bathroom. You don't have to give me an exact figure. Is there a ballpark figure that you can say that we as a city pay into that right now?
Yes, not taking into account any unforeseen emergencies or major repairs, it's roughly between $6,000 and $7,000 a year.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's a number we wanna. That was asked of me before the meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Bachelor.
I wonder if we could charge to go into the bathroom like a quarter to offset some of the cost.
Oh.
Something like that, because if we need the sales tax and business people need to make their living, and we have to depend on both sides, so we 50-50 on this. That's the way I see it.
There's I'm sure there's other ways that we have to look into it. The decision that was made on that attendant from the association was that that was the agreement that was done several years back, and I think it's been like that for about, I don't know, I want to say 10 years maybe. But what we as a city, before we, I guess, get involved in trying to figure out who pays what, we also need to know who in the association is paying what. Is NCD paying money into it? Is the Historic Main Street paying money into it? Those are the things I think we need to know. Please wait a minute. We need to know all those things, you know, and before we bring it back up. I know it's discussion right now, we're not going to take any action on it, but I think it's a good time to discuss these things, you know, and so that next time we put it on the agenda, we can make a decision, Mr. Parada. No, I feel the same way like you do. I think we do need to have bathrooms, and we need to have clean bathrooms. Those bathrooms actually were at one time condemned, and during the Marcos Lopez administration, we did the work in there. We restored them to that capacity, and they've been like that since then. I think what we need to do is build that partnership with the downtown merchants as a city, so that we can be part of something that the citizens that use that downtown area can have decent bathrooms. You know, I know some of the stores, almost all the stores have bathrooms, but they don't lend them out.
Right.
None of them lend them out. They send everybody across the street to the park, or to McDonald's, or to Burger King, because that's what they tell me. So there's got to be something. There's got to be a two-way thing, and this is what we need to do. Mr. Brecker, you wanted to say something?
Sure. I'm Bruce Brecker, 2315 Circo de Anza in Tubac, but I'm president of the Downtown Merchants Association, and we have had an agreement for 10 years with Nogales Community Development, Nogales, and we've supported the financing of the bathrooms. Nogales Community Development is the entity that has the MOU with the city of Nogales. And the agreement has worked very well for about 8 years. The last 2 years we've had some changeover in merchants on the street in Morley Avenue, and because these merchants are refusing to pay, it's created an unbalanced equity cash flow for the bathrooms. And as soon as word got out that these 10 merchants weren't paying, then some of the smaller guys decided not to. What it works out to be, running the bathrooms is about $103 a day. It's $38,000 a year. Per store on Morley Avenue, there's 50 stores, so we were assessing ourselves $2.50 a day to pay for these bathrooms. We were collecting it 3 times a year. And we do appreciate that this is a topic for discussion. I mean, for us, it's very important. We feel very badly that we've had to reduce the working hours of the bathroom, but we can only do what the cash flow sustains, and that's what we have cash to do right now. We're in talks with we're in talks with discussions right now with staff, trying to come up with some type of a mechanism, and any suggestions and your input into this process is appreciated. If you have any other questions.
But you know, one of the concerns that I have, Mr. Brecker, is that, you know, it seems like there was a breakup in the association. You know, because if you're not getting money from this group, something happened. And it really, as a city, I don't think we get involved with that. That's your issue. Absolutely. That's NCD's issue. Now, what is it that you think we as a city can do to mend that bridge between you and whoever is having the problem? Are those people that are having problems with, are they here?
Yeah.
You're the only one here? See, that's breakup, that's lack of communication too, because if we had those people here, and all of them, and we could sit down and come up with figure it out, because I mean, it's to expect the city to come up with a mechanism to enforce these people to pay, I don't know, would that be a district we're talking about, Mr. Dilly, or I don't know. That, for $30,000, I don't know if is it worth us doing that for $30,000?
The people who don't pay, their attitude is it's the city's responsibility. Those of us who do pay, we realize that there isn't one entity that can be responsible for everything. We're benefiting also from these bathrooms being open. For us, it's worth it to pay it.
But why would you think those people think it's our responsibility to have bathrooms for you?
Because that's what they've told me when I've gone to collect the money.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I went down there and I talked to several. You know, part of the problem seems to be that they're charging every store so much money. They told me that it would be more equitable if they were charging depending on square footage. Because a little store charges the same as a big store. So they said that's not fair, right? And why should we be paying, you know, like 2,000 square foot store paying the same amount as a 10,000 square foot store, right? Obviously, they're going to have a lot more customers in that store. So they said they weren't going to pay it because it's not fair to them. They're carrying a much bigger load than the bigger stores. And it seems that the bigger stores don't want to go ahead and say, well, okay, we'll figure it out by square footage. That was one of the problems, right? Another one is that obviously they say that some of the stores do have toilets, and they do let their employees are there, and also their customers can use it. But like they say, we're not going to let it out for people that aren't our customers, right? It's basically for our customers. Even at McDonald's, it says for their customers, but you can see people going in and out of McDonald's that are not buying anything and using their restrooms, right? And again, so it seems to be that they may be looking at the city for having the restrooms down there. But again, everybody should have restrooms. And again, public restrooms downtown kind of are McDonald's and like you said, Burger King. I see the majority of people are there, right? I would like to see it also being there 7 days a week. But again, I kind of feel that it's the downtown merchants that should be able to fund it, because the city is already doing what I consider much more than their load. I don't know if the city of Tucson or Sierra Vista doing anything like this, right? At least I haven't seen any city that goes ahead and does what we're doing for the downtown bathrooms. Or do you know of anybody else doing something like that?
I think what we have, New Bar, for the last 10 years is a really good working relationship. I don't think you can point to one person or one thing and say you should pay more and you should pay less. What we're talking about, if we were talking about thousands of dollars, if we were talking about $100 a day, $50 a day, then I think what you're talking about is as far as breaking up the payment as far as square footage, which is exactly how the bathrooms were built in the first place. There was a calculation done by square footage. The downtown merchants came up with the money to build the bathrooms. The MOU was signed with them at that time that said that if the merchants gave the money to build the bathrooms, City of Nogales would then, from that point forward, take care of them. We understand that that's not reasonable, but when you're talking $2.50 a day, New Bar,
I understand, but what I'm saying is
it's $2.50 a day. You can't even buy a roll of toilet paper for $2.50 a day, let alone maintain a public bathroom.
It does that up to $75 a month, and some of the people say that for their size store, and everybody that I asked, they tended to make the same comment.
Everybody paid this until you had two merchants who owned several stores on the block refused to pay.
Well,
and at that point, again, it's difficult, and we can sit here and we can go back and forth. So what I'm saying right now is we're trying to work with staff, and we're trying to come up with some way to find a resolution for this.
So one question. For many years, there was one gentleman that was there, and it seemed to be, everything seemed to be running very smooth. Then like 2 years ago, there was a change.
It was not smooth.
Well,
let me tell you, you weren't the person.
Were open for.
They were open, but you weren't the person who was getting the calls with all the complaints, and I was.
But who was complaining?
The people who were using the bathrooms.
Were they customers? Were they? At least I haven't
Well,
seen tourists.
There were customers. It was Border Patrol. They were an issue. So we changed the contract. We've had no issues. I mean, I haven't gotten a single phone call since we changed the contract. So to me, that was a good change.
Mr. Dilley, you have something to say?
Yeah. Bruce, whether whether or not it ran smoothly for a period of time and then until somebody decided to say, hey, you know, I don't think that the playing field is square, you know, it doesn't mean that it's not square. And it begs the question as to whether or not there needs to be a new discussion had where we basically wipe the slate clean and start over and say, okay, what is going to work? Because we all hold those restrooms downtown as a value to our operations as local merchants. You're not going to open up the restrooms in your own buildings, then you gotta provide something for your your patrons. And this seems to be an acceptable solution, and it warrants a discussion where we leave, to some extent, we leave history at the door and we walk in and say, okay, we've got restrooms here, they need to be maintained year in and year out. The goal is to have them open for 7 days a week. It's going to cost this much money. How do we make this happen? And everybody's going to have to be willing to say, okay, this is fair. And until the downtown merchants can get to that point, I don't know if a resolution can come forward that's amenable and we can move forward with it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would tell you that we are in that process.
Okay. Any help that staff can be to get the group together to facilitate discussions to help that cause, I'm at the table. But really, quite honestly, this in my opinion, you know, is more of an issue where we can help facilitate, but not an issue where we can solve the problem. It needs to come from the downtown merchants to say, okay, we're all stakeholders and this is how it needs to shake out at the end of the day. It's a fair and equitable way to handle it.
Mm-hmm. And we would love to be able to come up with that, but there is the reality that there might not be an equitable way, and there may be the same majority of players or the 10 players that decide to withhold any contribution, period.
Even if the city came forward with some money, even if we said, okay, we're partners in this financially, the problem is still going to exist then. We're not solving the problem. And so what we need to do is, if vice mayors had conversations with a lot of the merchants that you would put in the category as being non-supportive of a team approach to this problem, and they're saying that the real problem is that it's not an even playing field, then maybe you know, we have the vice mayor there, you know, you're there, and we have this dialogue go on to say, okay, well, this is the only reason why you said you're not playing, is because you're saying it's not an equitable way to do this, and then they have to face up, right? So
I would welcome the vice mayor bringing those people to the table, because from what I've heard, that the $2.50 a day is not the issue.
Oh, okay, fair enough, and we can continue the dialogue.
The people that don't play.
But what I'm saying though is, when you sit down at the table as a merchant that has played in this and continues to want to play the way that it has, you need to be acceptable to the fact that the game may change a little bit in order to find this acceptable solution at the end of the day.
We're looking for a solution.
Perfect.
And the vice mayor would bring people to the table who aren't willing to participate. That would be wonderful, because we can't get them to the table.
Great.
And we have no leverage to bring them to the table.
Mr. Parra?
I just hope it doesn't become a health hazard like it is right now, because they're not going to walk all the way to McDonald's or to Burger King. The people on Terrace don't even walk to if they're closer, they don't walk to McDonald's, they go right there on their block. And the same is going to happen at the city park.
But right now,
So we have to.
the only thing is that they're
Can we
keeping
get
them
together?
open. They're keeping them open only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What happens to the other 5 days of the week?
They're walking into our stores and asking to use the facilities.
That's a solution.
That's not a good solution for me.
If they're your customers, yeah, that's a solution, right? I mean, basically,
If they're my customers, they know where the restrooms are. If they're not my customers, the first thing they do, they walk in the door and they say, where's the restroom?
Dennis, go ahead on the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Mary Darling, and I'm on
You
TikTok.
can go right down. There you go.
I'm at 455 West Crawford Street, Nogales, Arizona, and I feel compelled to say something. First, thank you, Councilman Parada, for bringing this up, because I was there
in Caron Park yesterday for the first time after 15 years of living in Nogales. And I thought I would check out the bathrooms, because that's a good thing to check out. And they were locked. So I stepped back and I looked at the sign. They're supposed to be open. Maybe it's me. So I tried again, and they were locked. Okay, interesting. I'll add this to my list to talk to Bruce about. Inadvertently, it came up tonight. I'm listening to this, and some of these issues I'm not very familiar with, but starting April 5th, the downtown Morley Avenue Mercado location is going to be hosting a downtown Nogales Mercado in the hopes of bringing fresh produce and Mercado-like items to the city of Nogales. If the bathrooms are closed on Fridays, in theory, or not cleaned, or not presenting as part of the image of Nogales, probably not a good idea to have a afternoon-long every Friday Mercado, or not having an alternative to the bathrooms or clean bathrooms. In addition to that, last Friday I was at the First Fridays event, and there were visiting tourists visiting one of the vendors, and they wanted to know where the closest bathrooms were. Morley Avenue at 6-ish, pretty much every storefront is closed, and therefore the closest bathrooms are McDonald's. So they would have had to have left the First Fridays, walk up to McDonald's, come all the way back. And it's a little cold, and it's not, again, the image you want to present to tourists. Both events, or both activities are also involved with NCD. I'm not sure how they play into the financial arrangements here, but it seems to me that we need to figure out a solution. Tonight's probably not the night, but there's other factors than just the downtown merchants and just the Downtown Merchants Association. If we're trying to change the image of Nogales, clean bathrooms usually are at the top of the list of any visiting tourist. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bruce.
NCD did reach out to the downtown merchants, and the hours have been extended for First Fridays and also for the fresh produce.
There you go.
festival.
There's a solution.
So the bathrooms were open until
Clean, keyword there, clean.
Well, they have an attendant that takes care of them.
Just saying.
Yeah. They have an attendant. Anything else on this? What we're gonna do, Mr. Parada, we'll bring this back. I guess the dialogue was good. Good points came across. I'm sure down the road, staff and Mr. Dilly will be working with downtown merchants to figure something out. And let's bring it back, and if it has to come back for an action item, Mr. Parada, we'll do that.
Great,
All right? Thank you, Mr. Parada. Thank you. Number 9, orders. Consideration possible action of order 2013-03-019. A motion? Se apagó.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
Discussion? Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor, yeah, if maybe the city attorney could just give us a little kind of the highlights for this, I believe is the soccer field that's been wanted to open on Grand Avenue.
Yes, and I also want the planning and zoning director on the podium for this one.
Well, Councilman, it's back before you for consideration based on some amendments we made to the order and conditions that we had suggested in connection with the issuance of the permit, to make sure that the additional parking spaces were provided, that they met the applicable code of the city of Nogales, and that there was a mechanism in the approval where we could enforce that should there be some type of violation. The actual drawing or plat, or what you call it, Hector, the technical term, that needs to be approved by the planning and zoning has yet to be finalized and given the final okay. But when that's done, they're going to make sure that there is an adequate barrier between the two parcels of property involved, the adjoining vacant lot, to make sure that vehicles on this particular parcel don't go across and park on the dirt lot that adjoins this parcel. And as I indicated with Mr. Tapia, they're going to require physical barriers there, such that cars can't drive through there, because we discussed the great possibility that if you don't put sufficient barriers, people are just going to ignore them and drive around them and so on. But that's up to to Mr. Tapia to make sure that that's done in the planning phase.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the phase of the plan right now is to approve the land use right now. The next phase will be for us to review the site plan using the existing conditions of the site, plus the building permits that are required for the site. And I'm not sure if Mr. Garcia would like to show some of the site plan that we have. But basically right now the approval for the land use, the special use permit. And we're gonna work with the applicant to continue developing the site by phases. The first board right there shows the site plan as proposed. And then the photos on the next board is how it's going to be looking to the site. So like I said, the intent at this stage is to approve the land use. And we're working with the applicant to develop the master plan.
So part of the agreement is that it will be paid parking?
Yes, that's correct.
And it will have lights as is shown on this?
That's correct.
And they, you know, talking about bathrooms, I guess the mind is there. They will supply bathrooms for whatever the students are.
That's correct. On the north, east, west corner of the site.
I understand that was one of the sticking points.
Yes.
And Mr. Machado, you feel comfortable with this, and there is enough something behind it that if people does understand that if they park on Grand Avenue or they park on the other street, that they will be told, you know, yes, well.
Well, that's not included in the conditions that you're adopting today, but there is sufficient enforcement notice in the order today to give Hector the authority to do whatever he has to do when he approves the site plan. But in addition, if they violate any other law, parking on Mariposa and so on, they're going to be cited just like anybody else, and they'll be subject to towing like anybody else. And then keep in mind also that we have the authority to make all those. I'm not sure what they are in terms of if they're red and marked curbs or not at present, but whatever the chief and the public works director determine is best there, they have the authority to designate those areas non-parking and so on.
Thank you. Mr. Tapia.
Yes.
You recommend this, and you can remember very well the last time this came up to me here in the city council. I told you that we need to give these people their occupancy certificate to be able to use it with certain conditions.
That's correct.
It's okay.
Our recommendation is to approve this.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tapia. Thank you very much, Mr. Machado. Members of the City Council, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Gracias. Number 2, consideration possible action of order 2013-03-020.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have 3 motions. Thank you very much. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, is this going to be replacing another truck? Mr. Dilly, is this replacing or who?
It is.
Now, the other truck will be auctioned off? Once this truck gets on, I think we've had this discussion before, once this truck gets on city property or the city does go ahead and buy it, the other truck will be retired?
It's not working right now.
It's not working?
Right.
Okay. So then the insurance company, everybody will be advised and that truck will be eliminated?
It will.
Or auctioned off or whatever it is?
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know the price of the truck so that we all know. $27,668.23.
That's a regular crab? That's just a regular cab?
We'll have that for lunch.
I think Mr. Diaz has the numbers here, if you could give them to us.
Well,
Go ahead,
I'm just gonna briefly say the truck was 19,000, más o menos, and they have a special bed for the vehicle, which is another 5,000, and it's a lease to purchase. Right, Mr. Dillon?
That's right.
State.
So,
State.
with $1 buyback.
State
at the end of the lease.
State contract. Perfect.
So, it's a
Great.
good deal. It's a good deal.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I am kind of hungry right now, though.
Yeah, for crab?
I never thought about it until I heard that.
You should have some crabs. We'll have it in executive session. Number 3, consideration possible action of order 2013-03-021.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve order number 2013-03-021 in the amount of $500. $500.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 4, consideration possible action of order 2013-03-022.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Discussion?
Can we have a little more background on this?
Mr. Dilly?
Happy to.
Go ahead. You got 1 minute, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the last couple of months, we've been discussing and reviewing the possibilities of refunding 2 of our bonds, our 2004-2005 bonds, and the purpose of which would result in, or the reason for that consideration is that we have the opportunity to net significant savings because the interest rates are more favorable to us now than what they are under the existing bonds. In years past, we would simply call on Mr. Moss, who's with us tonight, and Mr. Moss would walk the city through the process of either securing a new bond or refunding the bond or bonds. But the game field has changed. Some new regulations have been put into place that separate an underwriter from a financial advisor. Mr. Moss, who works with First Southwest, has, rather than come forward to be the underwriter, because you have to choose one or the other now in the industry, has put forward a proposal to be considered by the city as its financial advisor on these types of proceedings. I've worked with the contractor proposal a little bit to include a scope that's bigger than just the underwriting scope, to include things like financial advising on the management of our liquid assets in our banks. You know, what securities should we invest in? How should we go about doing that? What's the ratio that we should have in the bank versus on the market? What makes sense? Because right now we have a lot of our capital assets, our liquid assets, just in a bank. Netting what little interest rates are available through your savings account or checking account type thing. There's got to be a better way of doing it. First Southwest has considered my changes to the proposal and have accepted those changes. Those changes are before you tonight for consideration as a financial advisor role that Mr. Moss would play for the city. He would be there, or his company would be there every step of the way during the underwriting process to kind of watch the underwriters who technically aren't on our side of the table. They're on the other side of the table, which is why these new regulations have come to be. And if we move forward with this, we're hopeful to get something in front of you either midstream between now and your next meeting, or at the very latest your next meeting, where you would give us direction on an underwriter to move forward. I do want to let you know that in years past, when you go through this process, there's always a cost associated with with going out to the bond market. It's called the cost of issuance. The cost tied to Mr. Moss's contract would be in addition to those costs of issuance fees. But quite honestly, this is a new horizon, new frontier for the city. I'm willing to go forward with this and try to take advantage of this redefined role that we would have with Mr. Moss in helping us go through this process. The contract amount is $30,000.
Yeah.
For a year.
For the year, okay. That payment becomes realized only if and when we actually issue a new bond and do the refunding. And so it would become part of, it would be taken off the net savings at the end of the day. And that's how that payment would play out. But quite honestly, there's a lot of other financial questions that we have relative to the investment of our liquidated assets, or liquid assets. And I would like to try to tap that resource during the course of this year and realize the benefit of that wisely investing the money that the city has, so we can get the best bang for the buck. So I put this before you. Mr. Moss is in the audience, can answer any questions that you might have, and I can try to answer any questions that you might have.
I just got 2 questions. Are you comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hanesian, are you comfortable?
Yes, I'm comfortable.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Just like that?
Because they had a conversation for a whole month about this. That's why I figured I'd say that. Members of the council, is there anything else?
Do you have,
Go ahead.
Mayor, I mean, a más o menos of savings, or how much this program is going to save the city, Mr. Moss, or?
Mr.
Mayor,
Moss, go
members of the
ahead.
council, members of the city staff, council member Diaz. When we go about these refundings, and this is no new money, this is simply refunding debt that we have outstanding, there are a lot of moving parts, and a lot of it has to do with the treasury market, municipal bond market. We and others have run a number of different scenarios over the last couple of months. And we've seen it vary from a net savings, net of all costs, now net of the underwriter's discount, cost of issuance, which is lawyers, financial advisors, everybody, from $750,000 to over $1 million. It just varies depending upon the bond market. My suggestion when I talked to Mr. Dilly, I think it was the 1st of December or somewhere around in there, the interest rates were very, very low, much lower than they are today. We knew they would go up through the Christmas holiday season, they always do, and then they started to go down again. We've had a roaring stock market the last 2 days, which has taken money out of the bond market, but the stock market, so rates pop back up. So we have this dynamic movement. So what you really have to do in order to take full advantage is get all of your documents together, get your official statement together, get your team together, and get ready to go on the market so that you can move on a 2-week notice if you have to, and take advantage of the best sweet spot we can, as best we can in the market to maximize the savings. So the savings can vary. They can vary as much as, as I said, $750,000 to $1.1 million or even $1.3 million. It's just a matter of timing. So I think somewhere in that sweet spot is where you'll end up. And then we can take a look at how we structure the bond issue in conjunction with the underwriter that we get on board at the time as to where we want to take that savings. And it gets a little complicated when you talk about net present value of savings, but we can pick fiscal years that we drop those savings into. So we're looking at 2014 and 2015 and 2019 as the places where those savings would be distributed. Everything else being the same and equal, because you don't take any losses in any year. You have a savings even if it's a couple $1,000s in a given year. But you try to maximize places where it'll help your budget. And that's where a lot of it's based upon your outstanding debt, but we try to structure it around that to drop the savings in those places.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Members of the council? Yeah? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 5, consideration possible action of order 2013-03-023,
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve order number 2013-03-023 in the amount of $45,000.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Costa. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I would encourage the council to entertain just a few minutes so that Mr. Kissinger can give us a quick background and update on where we've been since our last discussion with you, as to what's being presented to you tonight and in front of you for possible action, what it means.
Okay. Mr. Kissinger?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Dooley, thank you. As we all know, over the years, we've been applying and receiving grants from the state of Arizona, ADOT, for the operation of our Nogales Rides program. We also know that over the years, these funding have been dwindling. However, when there were quite a bit of funding, we had what was the reserve. So we've been putting on the Nogales Rides program with fund balance, plus the grants that have been coming every year. This year, when we applied for the grants, we only received $63,000 in awarded grant money. The potential for $63,000. As we look through it, part of it was only $18,000 for a mobility coordinator. We currently do not have a mobility coordinator on staff. If we were to bring one on staff, we would have a further shortfall of about $24,000. The service of the mobility coordinator would not affect the service that we're providing your constituents. So the rides that we're providing today, we'll be providing in next budget years as we go through this. So the rides do not change, it's just the service of the mobility coordinator. If we don't accept the $63,000 level and we accept the $45,000 level, which staff is recommending to accept that awarded grant, the mobility coordination efforts will be taken over by Siegel. I think it's the Catholic Daughters that will actually be doing the mobility coordinator. So the service will be provided, except it won't be provided by the city of Nogales, and we won't need to go out and hire an FTE. So having that in mind, staff we put this order together. We work very closely with the staff over that's running the program itself. We work closely with Mr. Chavez and the finance team that are helping us put the numbers together and applying for the grants. And we're recommending that you choose the option to accept the grant award money at the $45,000.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Mr. Dooley.
John, could you dive in just a little more detail on what this means to us as we look to next fiscal year by way of budget shortfall?
Well, regardless, it costs us right now with just the one driver and putting this program on close to, and I don't have the number in front of me, but it's close to $100,000 a year. But we're getting $63,000 in grant money back. So that we still have a shortfall regardless. I mean, we're getting the $45,000 back. So we're going to have to subsidize the Nogales Ride programs this year, I believe, for the first year, and we haven't finished the budget, but I'm assuming that we're going to need to subsidize the Nogales Ride program with general fund. So we're going to have to come up with that money. We're going to have to make some cuts somewheres to bring that money into the Nogales Ride program to provide that service.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I thought that was important for you to know because when we first talked to you as a council about the status of the program, it was most clearly an interest of the council to subsidize the program through city funds to make it to keep it alive even at its most simplest mode of operation, which was just one driver. Since then, last year when we're operating, I might have my years wrong, but I think it was last year when we operated this, there was a fund balance.
Correct.
That allowed us, even though we didn't have all the grant money to come in, it allowed us to use fund balance to make up the difference in that particular account. So it didn't draw down on general fund, on the general fund or any other fund for that matter. It appears that we've now spent through the fund balance, and moving the program forward, keeping it alive, even with just one driver, is going to leave us in a situation where there's there's a deficit and a need for a fund, whether it's the general fund or some other fund that is identified and approved by council to subsidize that operation. And I just wanted to make sure the council knew as we're moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Go ahead, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Kissinger, so how would it work if we take option B, the 45,000? Who actually would be running the service?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
The city of Nogales would continue to run the service. We would receive $45,000 in grant money. We'd be taking approximately $54,000 out of general fund money, and we'll mix those two funds together to complete our $100,000 más o menos of budget required to operate the service, and the city of Nogales would still provide that service. What's that option here is we have an option to receive $18,000 in grant money to do a mobility coordinator, which we are not doing that service today. So in other words, they're saying, we'll give you $18,000 and you put in the other $24,000 and you can have a mobility coordinator, which we don't need to have. So we can defer that back to CGO, and they can do it through the Catholic Services who can coordinate the mobility. And we don't accept the 18, and so we only have a $54,000 shortfall to come up with. Because if not, it would be...
The 18 is going to cost us money, in other words.
The 18 is going to cost us money. Correct. That's a perfect way to say it, Councilman.
Well, thanks for the time, but I thought it was helpful for you guys to understand.
Thank you very much.
So we're voting on
45.
45.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 6, consideration possible action of order 2013-03-024.
So move.
Second.
With a blessing. So we get it.
So move with what?
With a blessing. See, we get it or not.
We already got it.
Yeah,
We got
You
it.
got it, but you have to notify them for the
Yeah.
usage. You
Yeah.
might say, you can't use it for that.
Yeah,
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Vice
you know,
Mayor.
when this grant was given to us by the Tohono Nation, it was for some cultural use. I don't believe this would qualify, right? I don't think that they are really, you know, I think at the time that they gave us that money, they were envisioning that we were gonna have some building or something that would stand the test of time and say, look, this is where the money was used. Here I foresee that we're just gonna be using the money, not that it would be used wrongly, or not that it may not provide something, but I think the money for something like this would have to come out of something else, right? I believe I'd rather it come out of somewhere from the general fund or somewhere that we can actually say, we're doing it on our own, and that money from the Tohono Nation is gonna do this for us, and we can see it in the years. And again, I think that 150,000 with the Tohono Nation, we can piggyback it, and they might give us more money. If we present to them what we're really gonna do with that money, they might go ahead and say, fine, and we'll go ahead and double it, right? They're not gonna double it as it is right here.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Members of the council, just put very simply, the money has been sitting in our coffer since 2007. The council a year and a half ago, put forward a three-pronged initiative regarding economic development, and all we're doing is throwing out the option to the mayor and council that maybe if the council blesses it, we can approach the Tohono Nation to try to finish that third prong. You did the community facility district. You put that in the book, so now it's an option for developers. You did the infield district. That's now an option for developers that want to come in. The third prong of that economic development strategy was to promote Nogales and to do a campaign market our community. We just haven't gotten that. I mean, we're doing little bit by little bit. We're meeting people at the state legislature. We're talking to the press. We're doing what we can. But to really get out there and make a difference on that note, The suggestion is to take this money and see if the Tohoto O'odham Nation would bless it in terms of being used to bring in a consultant to really do a high-profile professional job in marketing our community. That's all this is. It's simply an idea. If the council doesn't like that idea, we're just saying, hey, this money needs a home, and if you have a different use for that money, let's just bring that forward. We'll approach the Tohoto O'odham Nation, and we'll say, hey, the council has gotten together, and this is how they'd like to use that money, and we'll make our best attempt at it. So that's what this is.
Yeah. Again, Mr. Mayor, I would like to save that money for something cultural that we can actually look back and say this is what it was used for. And again, I believe when the budget comes around that we can go ahead and designate money from somewhere to go ahead and do a much stronger economic promotion.
Yeah, because I think I mentioned it to you, Mr. Dilly, Mr. Hanesian and Mira Barras and I, we went to talked to Nogales at the time about this money, and that's when we received the $150,000. The whole intention at the time was to purchase the science house that was demolished on Morley Avenue, because we wanted to have like an educational center in conjunction or together with the University of Arizona, where students could go and we could have an art gallery and cultural events and stuff like that. I'm very interested in economic development. As you know, I'm very interested in marketing Nogales. But you know, it doesn't take $150,000 to market Nogales unless we're going to go all out to do that. And one of the things that I've talked to with Mr. Parada is that I think next time we meet with the county, we were talking that we both get together, the county and the city, and put in, remember Mr. Parada, to put either $50,000 the city and $50,000 the county to start marketing Nogales in a partnership. And I myself right now, I'm a little concerned with this, and because of what we asked for the money at the time. And I was one of the persons that asked for that money that we received. And you know, I support the Vice Mayor's way of thinking on this, and I think we should either sit down and discuss this in a different manner and see if we can use some of that money for the marketing. But we should be able to use this in the cultural type of event. I know we have one building that we have is the WIC building, that we could probably use that, and I don't know if we could, if that's an idea staff has, but we have to. I think that's the direction we go. I know the infield district, Mr. Johnny, we talked about that, and also the community facilities district are part of it, but this was earmarked for something. I don't know.
Yeah, part of the problem, well, you know, in our staff report, we acknowledge the council's interest in trying to partner up with the county, and we even called this out as being part of the stratagem in utilizing you know, these monies or whatever monies the council so deems appropriate. You know, I kind of get the feeling that you know, if I was the Tohoto O'odham Nation and they continue to get grant applications from the city for various things each year. And I know as a nation that the city hasn't even taken care of the grant that we received in 2007, that the Nogales' application would probably fall down on the list a little ways just because of that.
No.
Well,
they don't even think about it. You know.
Okay.
Our problem has been that what we asked them for, they're not going to give us, and we know that ahead of time. So why are we asking, right?
We asked because that was the direction of council.
You're asking me for a Ferrari.
That was the direction of council.
You're not going to get it, right? So why ask, right? So that's why we're not getting any more money. But if we come up with something that we're going to use this money and it's cultural, I believe that they would go ahead and piggyback it and give us more money on this. but it has to be something that they're comfortable with. It's not something we're comfortable with. They're the ones that have the money.
I agree, even after this step, even if the council was totally on board with using this money in any way, it would still need to go back to the Tohoto for approval. So, you know, really, this was simply a thought. Obviously, the council, it appears, is looking in a different direction relative to this money. We're just trying to help the council satisfy that economic development initiative. So,
well, is there anything else from the members of the council? Because I think this merits more discussion between the council and where this money should go, or if any, it should be divided and used in different ways. But I know that myself and I know the members of the council are all in support of economic development, Mr. Doyle, marketing Nogales. You know that very well.
we'll figure out a different way.
Yeah, but at least as members of the council, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this one, and at least when we know we have the 150,000, that if it comes to the point that during our budget process, we don't have any other means or any other way to go to get some of the money for marketing, we have a place. Is that okay?
Extra flag.
Yeah. Mr. Machado, even there was motions, can we just pull it, or we should amend it?
Do you have a motion on it?
There was two motions, yeah, two motions.
Still, we're supposed to come in after that if funding allows it to go in and do what's called a fog seal. It's an oil applicant that rejuvenates the asphalt, allows it to last a lot longer. Those things are important to do on your roads that are in better condition. Western Avenue is an example of that. So if we look to all of these projects as being in-house, we're never going to be able to deal with all of the day-to-day maintenance as well, and we're struggling at best even with that, as you all know. So with potholes and with the crack seal and with some of that day-to-day maintenance and pavement preservation, some of these other projects will have to lean on outside contractors to come in and do that work for us.
I think that would be fine.
So I'm just saying, as to the other roads, Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't know if those are shovel-ready as we have determined Bankart to be, but we can certainly do that.
You can certainly get them shovel-ready within 60 days. So I would like to have Bankart, #1, #2 is Potrero Avenue, from Grand Avenue to VFW. Number 3 is Nelson Avenue, and that we can do the swale, I think. That can be probably done in-house or not. Calle Sonora, #4. #5, again, if you're working already on sections of Western Avenue. And #6, Councilman Mendivil.
You know, just a comment. No, the lady that spoken called to the public. You know, I wish she would have been here, because this is a good time to be able to talk about these things. You know, Walnut. I used to live on Walnut, right off Walnut. The Walnut, the last time when it was paved was 1967, when the first work that was done on Walnut. Okay, before that it was dirt. So, you know, to be doing something right now, I think it's a plus. Okay, not only paving, but to put the infrastructure in there. Potrero, 1956. I did a study on that when it was paved, and since then there has not one drop of work done to that street. That's why it looks like an alligator's back. Bankart can be considered almost a major collector road, because it goes almost from a state route to a state route, and as much traffic for such a small block. You know, all those streets haven't been paved in 40, 50 years. You know, and I understand the frustration, Mr. Hanesian, and I understand, and I understand the frustration of the community. But you know, this is something that the community should understand too. All the work we've done in the past 2 years. You know, $2 million project on Morley Avenue, $1,500,000 on Martinez, Culver, Paseo Contento, second block of Terrace, the entrance of Meadow Hills, all Coronado. I mean, we've done a lot of work, people. We've done a lot of work. Please wait. And that's, you know, that's why sometimes I see people that get up after they speak and call to the public, and I want to tell them, you know, could you please sit down, we're about to get to the paving project. Because, you know, and you can see the frustration on Mr. Dilly's face because of Mr. Hanesian telling them we need these done. Mr. Parada, we continuously go to Mr. Dilly's office because we have constituents calling us every day about the holes, about the streets, about speed bumps. We have more speed bumps in Nogales than the whole city of Phoenix has, okay, in Nogales. We get that every day, and they listen to it. They listen to all this, you know, and that's why, you know, we're going to get these jobs done. We're going to get them done one way or the other, and I can almost bet the majority of the streets that Mr. Hanesian mentioned right now, and Mr. Parada, they will probably be done this year. Because if we get the funding from the overweight vehicle, and whatever we get from her, and if we do a lot of them in-house, we can accomplish a lot of these jobs. And as long as we don't have $500,000 worth of sewer lines and water lines and infrastructure, if we could just put a 3-inch overlay over it or just do the paving, we could take care of these jobs. And I just wanted to make that comment because it's very important people know this. Yes, Mr. Dwight.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have provided us, thank you for the comments, Mr. Mayor. You have provided a list of 6 roads that you'd like staff to focus in on in terms of doing some work on.
And get them shovel ready as soon as possible.
Can I get from you, please, if we've narrowed it down to 6 roads, can I get from you a prioritization of?
It was already there.
You gave it to me, but I need to make sure that the rest of the council is okay with that prioritization, because at the end of the day, we base that prioritization against the monies available, and I need to know how to prioritize. So, is the council, as a council, okay with the prioritization of those projects as it exists today, as was provided by the vice mayor, or would you make changes to that? Because, you know, that's going to be kind of our marching orders as we move forward and try to make that balance.
My concern is Nelson's concrete soil and Sonora. I can actually honestly say those can be done at the same time because the concrete soil will be done in-house. Sonora will probably be done with a contractor.
Right.
I will assess with staff what can be done in-house and what.
Okay.
I just need to know what prioritization you have on these roads here.
I think
They fall in that category.
Bankert. I think we can all agree on Bankert.
Bankert, yes, number 1.
Bankert is number 1, and number 2, Potrero.
Potrero.
Number 3, Nelson with its swale.
Yeah.
Number 4, Calle Sonora. Number 5, sections of Western Avenue. And number 6, Mendibles.
Now, from a benefit per vehicle traveled on these roads, Mendibles seems to be the one that's kind of an outlier. That, you know, it doesn't carry near the volume of traffic that these other roads do. If we get into
leave Mendibles.
I'm just letting you know.
Start from top to bottom.
Yeah.
You avoid going to Nogales if you can, even the people who live there, you rather walk.
I've driven it, I know.
And that's a one-way.
One way.
And they don't even want to come up.
One way to heaven.
But I think that list in order is okay. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually do not have to vote on that.
No, I've got the direction here.
Yeah.
We'll move forward.
Okay, members of the City Council, we're going to item number 2, discussion and possible action regarding the flood control district. Vice Mayor, that's your item 2.
Yes, Mr. Dilly, I guess 30 days ago we had a meeting with the county. And what came out of that the city and county were going to get together and within 60 days come up with a plan for inside the city limits to control certain places. And Calle Veracruz, off Perkins, and Perkins Street was number 1, that we would look at that for flood control. And we would have something, again, my understanding was something that we could look at and get shovel ready immediately before the rains really come in. And where are we there now? Where are we standing there?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, I certainly appreciate the question, and it's very timely. Our commitment was to work with the county staff in presenting a plan that would identify the various flood control management needs in our community. I believe staff was prepared to do that this morning at the scheduled county board of supervisors meeting. It so happens that that meeting was canceled by the county. John, can you identify whether or not this particular project is in that staff report?
I'm not real sure, I have to go look, but I know that we addressed, it was in that report, the flood control for the Nogalitos area back in there. I don't know if it was specific to that much, was it?
Is it included?
It is included.
And it was the flood control district meeting that was scheduled this morning that was canceled.
Yes.
But we have it, the report we're going to provide.
So our expectation is that when we provide the county with this report, they're going to obviously respond to it. And there might be a little give and take on the verbal banter back and forth on these projects until it gets to a point where we feel it's ready to be disseminated with our elected officials, both here at the local level as well as the county level. But I believe that your staff is doing exactly what needs to happen to meet the 60-day criteria. It's just that this morning's meeting with the county was canceled. So.
But there could be another meeting later this
And I expect that there will be.
Or early next week.
I expect there will be, yes. And we'll be prepared to present the report and allow the county to respond to that, the county staff to respond to that.
And I think if you need, somebody need that meeting, any of the councilmen, I'm sure that more than one of us would be happy to be there.
Okay, perfect.
Because I have a list that has to be cleaned up on the flood control. They haven't done it. So,
If you want to let me know what that list is,
Okay.
I'll jive that with what we have as a report.
Okay.
So we can talk afterwards.
sounds good. Satisfied, Mr. Vincent?
Yes, fine. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Item number 3, discussion possible action regarding finance department if they are exempt from hours worked overtime. Councilman Parada and Councilman Diaz.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm bringing this discussion and possible action for the reasons that last year and the year before, I would see the personnel in the finance department working 8 hours and on weekends, and I don't know if they're getting paid over time or not, but I would like to know if they have done a study, if they're exempt or not. If they haven't made a study, you can probably call the League of Cities and Towns, and they'll probably tell you that the ones that are exempt are the management and department heads. Nobody else. So, if there's anybody that's in that department, that has documented hours worked, whatever overtime, they should present it to Mr. Daly and see if they can get reimbursed.
Mr. Diaz?
My concern is if we're not violating any federal labor laws, as far as that goes.
Mr. Machado?
Well, it's something that staff has looked into and currently have under discussion. And we've got some preliminary opinions on it, but I think this is something that if we take it any further, it should be an executive session at this point. However you guys want to.
But it is being
looked at.
It is being looked at, and if, as Mr. Parada has stated, that that's the deal, that basically the city will adhere to what it is.
I think I can speak for Mr. Dilly in this regard, is we will do everything to make sure that the city is complying with all applicable law.
Mr. Machado, can I ask questions in reference to grievance?
Sure.
Yeah. Is if there are any employees in this room that have to do with that department and there are issues, and I need you guys to listen, girls and guys to listen. There are issues with any department head or anything in your department. We have a policy. We have a manual. We have a grievance procedure. I'm going to tell you this right now, and the reason I'm saying this right now is because I've heard a lot of things, and I think it's time that in front of the members of the council and in public, that you understand that if you have a grievance, go ahead and file the grievance. Go through the process. You know, Mr. Dilly can't sit in that office and figure out what's going on unless you help Mr. Dilly, you help Mr. Kissinger. And we're telling you right now, I'm the mayor. These are councilmen. We're telling you right now, there's a process. Follow it. And you know, so that this can be addressed. If there's if this, Mr. Parada just mentioned 2 years ago. If this has been, if this is something you think has been happening for 2 years, file a grievance against whoever you think that grievance should be to. Your supervisor, your director, whoever. But there's a chain of command. There's a process to follow it. You know, a lot of times there's a tendency of holding meetings in strange places. Right here, City Hall, council chambers. Hold the meetings right here. Be transparent. And listen to what I'm saying. There's nothing that can happen to you. Do it. If there's a grievance out there, do it. File the grievance so that they can follow the process and address these issues. Be it overtime, be it a hostile environment, be it whatever it is. Put the grievance in, file it, and let's get it done that way. Now, if you want to discuss this right now in executive session in reference to this issue, like Mr. Machado says, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I don't think we do.
Do anybody want to discuss this in executive session? Because you want action on this, or should we just?
I don't think we can have any action on it, based on what's before the council, but you're gonna go into executive session under 12 anyway.
Yes.
If you want to do it, you can move now to go into executive session at the same time that you're gonna do number 12. And then if you have any questions, we can address it there.
Okay.
If not.
Would you like to talk about this in
Yes.
executive session?
Yes.
You know, because as you know, it's policy, we're talking to people, we're talking about employees, and like Mr. Machado says, it's the proper thing to do it in there. But what I'm saying about the grievance, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, that's a policy. We have a policy manual. The policy manual is to protect you and to protect the city, both ways. Nobody should take any action against you for filing a grievance. And the grievance is to help you, so that Mr. Dilly can understand what's happening, so things are not done behind closed doors. These things have to be done out in public. That's why I'm saying this right now. It's pretty hard for me to say these things, but I think it's time. I think it's time that you address these issues. And if there's any directors out there that have any ways, feel differently, ni modo. That's why you have a city manager. Okay? Let's address these issues and take care of these problems. These items, I don't even think they should be coming to city council. These items should be taken care of administratively through a grievance process, through human resources, and through Mr. Dilly's office, instead of going through us. We shouldn't even be discussing issues, personnel issues with you guys, unless we're going to discuss a contract, employment status, or something else. But okay, you brought it to us, it's there, I'm telling you what to do. Take action. Thank you very much, and we'll take it and we'll discuss this further in the executive session.
Okay, well, a motion to go into the executive session at the same time that we do
As the last time. Yeah, is there a motion?
So move on that.
Thank you, Mr. Parada.
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Item number 4, discussion and possible action regarding cell phone use while operating city vehicles and heavy machinery during working hours. Councilman Parada and Councilman Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been trying to get a policy going for a couple of years. Actually, we can get it together with legal. It's something that we can come across to, just for the public safety and also for the safety of the employees. It's a distraction when you're using the phone when you're driving. So we need to look at that issue. I don't know if we can come up with a policy. Give it up to legal.
Sure, and if that's a desire or direction of the council, I can work something up and incorporate it into our existing vehicle use policy that we have. And I know our insurance carriers would be really happy if we did something like this.
Right. Yeah. That's what we brought it up. We heard it from the insurance.
Oh, good job.
You have to understand that this will only be for, we can't isolate just one heavy equipment operator. It's a whole, in general, police officers, firefighters, driving ambulances, everything. If we're gonna do it, we gotta do it for the whole city. Okay. Thank you very much.
Is that the direction you want me to work up a policy for your consideration?
Thank you, Mr. Parada. Thank you, Councilman Diaz. Item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding the mass production of homes being built east of Nogales, Sonora, and how it will affect the water supply from the Santa Cruz River. Councilman Parada and Councilman Diaz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Due to the fact that they're building and already built 22,000 homes on that side of Nogales, Sonora, is near the Mascareñas property, and they are pumping from the Santa Cruz River. Want to find out what impact, what study we can do, and see if which manner is going to affect us on this side with the water level.
Can we have the utilities director please step up and Mr. Bárcenas?
If we can have Mr. Bárcenas address first, and then we move on, if that's okay with you.
Go ahead, Mr. Bárcenas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The Department of Water Resources, and I'm pretty familiar with this issue. For many years I've worked for the department, and has done many studies on the hydrological conditions there in both sides of the border, and the impact that we have projected would be minimal, because Nogales, Sonora is already pumping as much as possible from the river. So that's the reason that they are going to Cibuta and Los Alisos and all over places, because there's not enough water there. The way that the system works is that you can imagine underground bathtubs that are kind of tilted. One bathtub gets full of water, spilled to the next one and to the next one to the north. So when you start pumping in one of the bathtubs on the top, you're just going to use that bathtub. It's not going to be water spilling over, but you're not going to be able to deplete the next one down. So that's why we believe that the impact would be minimal. The other big point on this is that the system on the Santa Cruz River, both in Mexico and in the U.S., is really reactive to rainfalls. As soon as we have a big rain, the bathtubs get full of water. In a year or 2 years, we replenish all the storage that we have underground on the river. So when there is a situation that they dry up the upstream bathtub that's in Mexico, that it's only going to take a year or two of good rains to refill that and spill over to us. So the main concern that I think related to your concern is the potential for contamination, because they are going to be having sewer in those houses. And if that's in the basin of the Santa Cruz River, that sewage could be going to the river. And that's where the concern is, that if they don't put a sanitation, they don't put a treatment plan, or they don't take care of that issue, then they would have an issue in Mexico, and we would have an issue because our wells are downstream. So that's, I assisted today to a binational meeting with Nogales, Sonora, IBWC, and some of the stakeholders along the border. And they mentioned about this construction that's going on, And they're applying for monies from NetBank and BIG to build a new wastewater treatment plant for that area of the Mascareñas, Santa Cruz River area. They expect to have that funded through that process in the next couple of 3 years. So that's what I know, and that's my understanding of what's going on.
Yes, because the last drought we had, we don't know, most of the pumps around the Santa Cruz River were dry.
Yes.
See, that's what I was worried about our round table. Not only about the San Lazarus, not little town that's a bit further that way, they have a treatment plant, but it's not a regular it's just a pond.
Yeah.
That's going to drain out to the Santa Cruz River. And I'm afraid of that other section, there's 22,000 homes that's going to be built through it. It's more than the population we have in Nogales.
Yes.
So, you know, we're looking at something more serious than a minimum right here, because if we have to another drought, I mean, we're going to be hurting.
Yes, and you're right. I think the Santa Cruz River, and we're kind of lucky that we have different sources of water, that we have the river, and we use the river as much as we can. And then when the conditions are not there for pumping from the river, we switch to the loan storage capacity that we have in the Potrero Creek on Meadow Hills. Right. And really that's a benefit that few municipalities have to have two different sources of water. We're lucky that we have that situation, and that we have the wells and the pumps set up in a way that we can supply all the water that we need for the whole city from both places. So we have been constructing this through the years, and that's why we are kind of protected in that regard. But of course, the consideration of contamination in the river is a big issue. It's a big issue.
Where, Mr. President, where is our 100-year water supply source?
We have a 100-year water supply.
On the Potrero well, isn't it?
For the whole city, including Santa Cruz River and Potrero. We are working internally as part of staff to see how we can benefit from the effluent that we discharge to the river and add.
But I mean, the $2.5 million project on the Potrero well guaranteed us at the time the 100-year water supply to continue growth.
We have 10 years of shore water supply right now. Our shore water supply permit doesn't expire until 10 years from now. If we want, we can add, it's like a bank account, that if you put more money into that, which is more water, you can extend that life. So that's why we're working on trying to get credits for the water that we discharge to the river. Once it's treated at the wastewater treatment plant, that water just goes to the north and we don't get any credit for that. If we apply to the state to get some credits for that, we can add that to our account and extend our shore water supply for more years, or we can benefit from economically from that water that could be sold to somebody downstream like Rio Rico, Tubac, even Green Valley, because they need to demonstrate a 100-year water supply also.
Mr. Dilley?
Alejandro, is there somebody that can come down from ADWR to maybe give a presentation on any kind of study or analysis done relative to the impacts of growth on the border and its impacts on Arizona? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is. It is. As a matter of fact,
maybe that would be really helpful, where they can come down with their reports or studies or their diagrams or whatever, and sit down in front of mayor and council and give them a presentation and walk them through the findings. I think that would be a good.
I could arrange that and have a presentation for.
I think the University of Arizona did one, Mr. Dilley. They did a presentation in Keno Springs that I attended.
Yeah,
and they've been working on that for the two developments over there, for the 2,000-acre one and for the 7,000-acre one, because they were talking about also the contamination part of it and also the amount of water that we're going to be using on those two projects.
Yeah, I could do that.
Can we do that and get it lined up within
Sure.
the near future?
Yeah.
Just one question, Frank.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
How many feet down does the wells go there on the Santa Cruz River? Are we up to 3,000 feet or what? How?
Well, in Mexico,
No, on
on us, most of our wells are about 100 feet deep. We have a few that are 300 feet max. The basins, the tops that we have are, the deepest is probably 300 feet. So we are to the bottom of those. The city commissioned a study a few years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, with a consultant, that they went below that level and found that there is additional waters that right now we're not using below that 300 level that could be potential for additional supplies that we can explore in the future. Of course, it costs money. As the deeper you go, it costs more money to pump, and drilling the wells costs a lot of money. But the study that the city commissioned, I believe was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, shows that there's additional supplies under the 300 feet limit. So, and the same thing with Potrero, there's potential for additional supplies there.
How deep are those wells?
Potrero, right now we have 400 feet in some of the wells, but there are wells that are private wells that go to 600 feet and there's still water there. So that basin is, we're using only one portion. The other thing that's is a potential, and to the north, the part of Valle Verde Water Company, there's a Pesqueira Canyon that has a
very good
really good well, and that well went to 500, 600 feet and produces a lot of water. So the city could expand into that basin as the growth progresses in that direction. So there's additional sources that we can use.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barcenas. Mr. Parada and Mr. Diaz, would that be something that we will discuss later on with the presentation from AWR? Okay.
Yeah, with the presentation, we can get more facts. And
Mr. Gilly, would that be okay?
Yes, we'll
further discussion later on?
Oh, yeah.
On that item?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 12, executive session, discussion on the renewal of the city manager's employment contract. And do I have a motion for executive session?
I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll be going into executive session. Executive session, we're back in session. Mr. Jolie, on the motion, correct me, should I say the contract stays as it is except for, or as per our discussion in executive session?
That's what you can say.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll make a motion to approve Mr. Dilly's contract
And he can take us, Mr. C's.
as per the discussion in executive session.
So movement.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
One
Yeah.
opposed.
Opposed? All right. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
And hurry up because this is going on.
Yes, yes.
That's it.
Mr. Dilly, do you want to go to city manager's report, or can we wait till next time? Is there something else?
I just wanted to, if I could, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go
members of
ahead.
council, just let you know that the effort to move forward the white paper, the political alignment, is still underway. I believe this Friday marks a deadline for some of our local stakeholders in the white paper to get their information back to me. That's the players like the Chamber of Commerce, the Port Authority, NCDC, Downtown Merchants, you know, that kind of group. Also, I did want to let you know that staff has been engaged in a lot of different discussions with developers. We have a developer who has requested to remain anonymous at this point in time, interested in a site right there next to Ross Dress for Less. And they're presenting quite an aggressive development schedule that would have their doors open, if they proceeded, would have their doors open by the holidays this year. So that's brick and mortar. It's several thousand square feet of retail activity that would bring new job to the city, as well as new sales tax. So in addition to that, there's a number of warehouses. One of them's 100,000 square feet. The other one is in the neighborhood of 60,000 square feet that are also working through the process of development for here in Nogales, and that is also new brick and mortar. So all of that's very exciting. The developer that is looking at that site next to Ross Dress for Less is commented on the smoothness of the process, the one-stop shop approach, with planning and zoning. As we grab everybody around the table and talk about the issues that the developer needs to know up front, so it helps them in their design and engineering efforts, helps save them money and time, has been now tested and is proving to be very effective, and they're very complimentary on the city of Nogales as a whole as being very business friendly. So, it's just one example, and it's not that we've turned a corner. But we are marking progress, and there's still a lot of work to do, but I think it's all in all a very positive message for our community. As it relates to our revenues for the general fund, I'm hopeful that we can get you guys a mid-year report. About this time is when we provide that report to you, where we talk about not only how well we're doing so far, or how poorly for that matter, more importantly, what we have to look forward to as we look into our budget session and for next year. I will tell you that revenues seem to be somewhat constant. You'll find this information in the finance section for your director's report. But revenues seem to be constant to last year. Very, very close. Nothing really to mark either positive or negative. But the thing that I want to point out to you is that when you break it out categorically, our sales tax, our retail activity is down from last year significantly, which means it's the other category that's kind of keeping the boat where it's at. And that other category, for the most part, is our state share revenues. Now, what does that mean to us? When I came on with the city was when we were faced head on with the impacts of the recession. Okay. However, when I was in Queen Creek, we were dealing with recessionary impacts. We were laying people off in 2007 and 2008. The fact that it didn't hit Nogales until 2009 and really in 10, when we really realized that there was a problem, tells me that Nogales is in a situation where we're kind of lagging behind what's happening with the state. So something happens with the state, positive or negative, we kind of get it a little bit later. We don't get it like right when the state is experiencing it. So the state shared revenues is going up, which means the state is doing better, but our retail activity, our sales tax activity is going down, which means we're still in that recessionary flux. But the positive in that is that if we continue that trend, that means that there's better days to come, and that we'll also start getting benefited by what's happening to the rest of the state. So that's just a quick observation, but I just wanted to let you know kind of where we stood with that, and I'm hoping that we'll get you that mid-year report very soon and you can see for yourself what's going on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. This meeting is adjourned.